Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. For those of you that were that watched yesterday's video, you will know that we have three vehicles and absolutely none of them are running. Everything has gone kaput. And yes, it's okay. Have me some coffee here. That fixes everything, right? Coffee and chocolate. Oh, and black licorice, but that's another story. So when I'm doing this video, it's the same day that the last vehicle went down. So it's yesterday when you see this. And, but I can still give you a little bit of an update. I mean, has everything miraculously jumped up and been healed? No. We're going, we're having to go the long way around. Maybe, I don't know. The guys with all of them there and trying to help get the car home and everything, they did determine that there is one part on the vehicle that has gone belly up that needs to be fixed. Now, will that fix everything? We'll see. It may. And it may still leave an issue or two that needs to be taken care of. But we do know that that one thing is definitely the big part of the problem right now. It's why the car won't run, why it turns itself off and all. And so, and I believe that Marvin is going to go ahead and put the part in. And one of the guys, I think if I understood right, he has the part we need. And so we can just buy it from him and we're good to go. So I would say he's out there working on it right now. I think trying to get the part off, and then I'm not sure how this is going to go. I don't know. I'm kind of stepping back a little because this is very stressful and just trying to figure everything out. And I mean, I get it. There are times, when I have definitely been overwhelmed by a lot of things going wrong at one time. And so, I figured the guys, they're going to figure it out. I have no idea. I am not a mechanic. I don't even play one on TV. So, but is God taking care of it? Yes. He is. He absolutely is. And, I think that our grandson's still a little worried, because he's like, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? I go, about what? And he goes, well, transportation, like now you're really stuck at home. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. It's all worked out. God's already taken care of it. We just don't know how he's taken care of it yet because we haven't got to that point in the future where we see how God provided. But but God's already been in the future. He's already there. He's already made the provision. So now we get to wait and see. So while still being actively involved in it. So yes. So it's going to be okay. The problem is not solved yet. Hasn't even been 24 hours. It will have been by the time you see this video, but at the time that I'm making the video, no, it's not. So now I want to share with you what I originally had been thinking about sharing. And that's how a storm can sometimes bring us together. What is it that there's always every cloud has its silver lining, or however that goes. In other words, even when something isn't good, good can be birthed out of it. And one of the things when a storm hits, when all the cars stop running, when finances go under, the job comes to an end, whatever it is that we're facing that is that particular storm, God can bring good out of it. And sometimes those catastrophes, those problems, can actually bring people together. And that's the thing I wanted to share today. So when Marvin and I got married, we got married where I was from. And then we flew 3,000 miles home. And when we got here, I don't know, I think it was a week or so later, we had a reception. And we had it over at his sister's house in the yard. We had a barbecue. We were married in the summer, and a barbecue potluck was was really fun to do. And there was a lot of people there. And I was trying to keep it straight as I was being introduced to people. This is a cousin, this is an aunt, this is a nephew, this is and it's a big family. And then on top of that, they got lots of friends. And so even keeping track of everybody, there were a couple of times when I asked Marvin, now who's that person? He's like, I'm not really sure. They're here with somebody, but I'm not really sure. But what happened is what I think happens a lot of times when you get a lot of people together. I mean, I see it happen at church all the time, in the different churches I've been in. I've seen it happen on the job. I've seen it happening in the neighborhood. We kind of develop these little cliques of people that's who we're comfortable with. We know them, we can go have a conversation with them and everything feels fine, and comfortable and keeps us in our cozy little box, and it doesn't stretch us too much. And so that was happening at our reception barbecue. And so Marvin had said something to me about, I wish, because everybody kind of broke off in their little comfort groups and they weren't like really interacting with each other. And he said, I wish there was some way that we could just get everybody together, that would just put us all together and we'd all be interacting with each other, and people would be meeting people that they don't usually know or aren't comfortable with or whatever, that it would just be one big group instead of like these 12 groups that are all over the place. Well, they had, I don't even remember who did it. I think it was one of the nephews that had access to a big tent, I think from work or whatever. And we didn't put the sides on it, so it was just like a huge canopy. And that's where we had the food and everything under there. And we had some tables where people could sit and eat. And there was enough room to, if you got it tight, everybody could be under that tent. But they were all over the place. And Marvin really, it was his heart's desire that they just would all come together. And if there was some way, it was going to take God to do it. And we knew that. And it was like not very long after Marvin had shared his heart with me on that there was a crash of thunder. The sky turned dark and a downpour, like a waterfall, began to just come pouring down. Well, when that happened, everybody ran for the tent. And now, all of a sudden, that rainstorm, that thunderstorm that burst open, caused everybody to come together into one group, just like Marvin's heart was desiring. And we ended up staying, because it rained for a little while. So everybody ended up under that tent. And Marvin was able to thank everybody for coming, and we were able to introduce people around. And suddenly what had been about 12 small groups became one nice, large family. And it was because of the storm. If that storm had not burst out of a clear blue sky, mind you, it never would have become that one group. Everybody would have been in their little separate groups, and eventually, they would have gone off and gone home and, thank you, and this was fun or whatever. But it changed everything when that happened. And, it's the same thing that I know in my life. I'm not going to say it's in your life. I'm sure you're way better than me. But for me, God has often had to allow some kind of catastrophe, tragedy, whatever, to happen in my life in order to get my attention so that I would run to Him. He needed to allow things to become out of my control so that I would seek His control when it was beyond anything I could do. So if it wasn't for some of the hard things I've gone through in life, I would be nowhere near as close to God as I am now. In fact, in truth, if I had never felt the need for Him, if I had never felt helpless and hopeless and run to Him, probably wouldn't have any kind of relationship with Him at all. So I know how He uses that in my own personal life, but He also uses it with us as a whole. And so I was very thankful for that thunderstorm that day. That's one of the things that was a real blessing to us, was a thunderstorm broke out of absolutely nowhere. and caused everybody to run for cover under this tent. It also reminds me of, it's probably been about 2 years ago now, but I had this dream, and I really believe the dream came from God. And I'm not going to try to interpret or anything. I'm not even going to tell you the whole dream, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit of the gist, because I think this points to what we're looking at as God, as the family of God, as his children, in the days that are ahead, in the days for some of us that we're already experiencing some of this. And that's our need for each other. So in the dream, Marv and I were here at home in our house. And it was almost like a train that pulled up. It was coming down the road out front of our place, and it stopped. And these men came, and they were coming because we were Christians, okay? And they were removing people that were followers of Jesus or claiming to be Christians or whatever. They were removing this from our homes. And I remember these men came in and they said, okay, you've got to go now, and you can take one thing with you and nothing else. So grab one thing and let's go. And you just go with the clothes on your back, and you got to get in this. And, and they were armed men. And we knew, I had that feeling in the dream that we knew this was coming, that it was something that was already happening. And so now they were at our house. And so I was like, okay, I'm grabbing my dad's large print Bible, because if I only take one thing, well, if I don't have my glasses, I won't be able to read it unless it's large print. And if I'm only taking one thing, I want the Word of God with me. So I grabbed this Bible, and that's what I took with me and put it in. They'd given me kind of like a little backpack thing to put my one item in so that I could, wear it. And they didn't let Marvin go with me. They said that they were just taking women and children on this shuttle or whatever it was. And then they would pick up the men and, on the next one, and then we would all be reunited where we were being taken to, because we were being taken to these reservations, basically, is what it turned out to be out in the woods in the mountains somewhere. We went a long time. We traveled for several days. And I do remember that, when Marv and I said goodbye to each other in the dream, it was like, we don't know if we'll really see each other again or not, but we know we're going to be okay. And we're just trusting God. And so when I got on this, it was a dark, crowded, like I said, it felt like I was on a train. And there were these children, about 8 of them, these little children, all, I would say, 6 and under. And they had been separated. They didn't have any mamas or grandmas or anybody with them. They were all by themselves, and they were huddled in this corner crying, and they had somehow been separated out. And so I had, confirmed with them that they were totally alone. And so I told them, then you stick with me, and we're going to be family now. I'm Grandma Angie, and you just stay with me. And wherever they put us, we'll tell them that we're a family unit and that we need to stay together, because they were keeping family units together. And so they, like I said, it took us several days, and I kept these children with me, and we get to our destination. And when we get there, it was cold, and it was rainy, and it was just a wilderness in the woods, kind of in this mountainous area. And so there was this gentleman and his adult son, an older gentleman and his adult son, but yet I was old enough to be the older gentleman's mom. It happens. Anyway, they had said, well, do you have a family unit? And I'm like, yes, these 8 children are my family unit. We're together, and my husband's supposed to be coming. And so they said, okay, well, we'll put you in this trailer we've got that was kind of into the side of a mountain. It was very odd. And so they took us there, and it was not a really good place. It was cold. It was dirty. It had some little beds and stuff, but everything was in pretty poor shape. But I saw there was a wood stove in the corner, and so we went to gather wood to build a fire to get everything going in the stream. And then after we kind of got, settled in for how we were going to manage in this place, because I'm telling these little kids, okay, here's what we're all going to do, and we're all going to work together. And the little kids were just, yes, yes, Grandma Angie, that's okay, and they were very happy to be working together, that we were going to fix up this place so that we could survive in it. And then this man and his son came back and said that there was a Bible study and a gathering that was happening in the woods, and they were going to take us there. And so when we get there, we find there's all these people, men, women, and children, all ages, and everybody was coming together. They did this every evening. They would share their meal. So we had food to eat, and it was whatever they were foraging out of the woods or harvesting off the land. And and they were all followers of Christ. And there was there's more to it, and I won't go into all that. But the point was, everybody knew how to do something, and whatever it was you knew how to do is what you did to contribute to the community. And even though we had our own little places that we stayed to sleep and whatnot, we lived as one community, as a family. As a one family unit that was fairly large. There was probably a couple of hundred people in the area where we were in this dream, and it was everybody pitching in and helping everybody. And to me, in that dream, here was a storm, and being taken away, not allowed to stay in our homes because of our faith in Jesus Christ. And so we were being taken to these places. I can't remember what they called them, because they had a name for it, and they had them all over the place. And so they were taking us and leaving us there. And then we just had to figure out how to survive, and we were kept within the confines of this area. And, for however long they were, I don't know. The dream was just basically about that, and different people that I saw there that I knew, and just the greatness of God. It was actually a very emotional dream for me. And the emotional part was not that here I'd been taken out of my home. That didn't really seem to faze me, or that I couldn't take my stuff with me. That didn't really seem to faze me. But it was the emotional thing of seeing the people who really loved the Lord so much that they were being removed from society because of their faith. And how this storm of this removal and being separated, and possibly, you had this feeling they might just come in one day and wipe us all out. But for however long the Lord had us there, our attitude was that, we will serve him, and we will take care of each other. And, and it's much like the early church, and how they watched out for each other, and they even shared their finances and things in common, that they had a common treasury that they would bring their money to, so that everybody was treated the same. So if everybody can't afford steak tonight, then nobody's having steak tonight. It's kind of the way I describe it. If all, that people can afford is hamburger, then even those who could afford the steak, they're having hamburger. That you keep it on an equal level. And it was kind of, and if somebody needs something and we can meet the need, we go meet that need. If somebody needs help, cooking dinner, we're going to help them cook dinner. If they need help setting up the house, we're going to help them set up the house. And it was just that sense of community and coming together that was is the part of the dream that I wanted to share tonight with you, is that we need to I think step up our game. I don't know what it's like in other places. I know there's people from all over the world that tune in and watch some of these videos. There's somebody in India who watches like almost all the videos. I've got people in the United Kingdom, in Canada, several different places in Africa. I can't even remember where all. Venezuela, Sweden. There's Turkey. Oh yeah, somebody in Turkey had my video. One of my videos they watched had it translated. So. I'm still learning how to check all that out, but you can see the different places that people are, and that's in the real world, not in the dream, so I don't know what it's like if you're not in the US, and even in places of the US may not be the same as other places, but I don't know what it's like where you're at, but where I'm at, I feel that that sense of community has been lost, that it's become more of a every man for himself, every woman for herself, and especially within the Christian community, of that really, knowing what's going on in other people's lives and if they need help, and then being available to do what we can to help that person, to just drop everything when somebody has a crisis. And Gail, she had the worst day of her life, and she had to say she had a crisis is an understatement. She, unexpectedly, her only child just died, and I dropped everything to be there for her that day, and I would do it a million times over, because I think that's what we're supposed to do. When somebody needs us, we need, when they really need us, when that storm hits their life and we can be there for them, we need to. There have been times when I had a storm hit my life and I really needed somebody to be there, and I was rejected. Nobody wanted to be bothered. That is a really awful feeling. If you don't feel bad about yourself to begin with, you go through that kind of rejection when you really need somebody and nobody wants to, they've got other things going on, and can't you just, can you call somebody else? And I'm talking about big things that happen, like somebody just dropping dead, and big things. And then to not have anybody be there. I don't want anybody to ever feel the way I have felt when that's happened to me. Anybody. If it was my worst enemy, if it was the person who hated me more than anybody else on the face of the earth and wished I was dead, and they needed me and I could be there, I would be there for them. I know, because that's been tested before. And yes, it's like nothing else mattered. How they had treated me, how they had spoke about me, what they thought of me, didn't matter. They were in a crisis and they needed somebody, and I was there, and I was going to be their somebody. So, are you somebody? If somebody were to need you, could you lay down what you're doing and be there for them? And if you needed somebody, is there somebody that would be there for you? I said in yesterday's video, I think I shared that we don't usually have a lot that we can draw on for support. When we need help, we don't have a lot of people to call. And sometimes we can't find anybody to be there. And Marvin and I've had to tough through some things where we needed help, where we could have used an extra set of hands and we couldn't find them. And we had to figure out a way to do what we needed to do. But yet yesterday, 3 men and 3 trucks came to our rescue, and there were some that stayed until they were sure what was going on, and bless each one of those men, for what they did, and my husband not being left alone trying to figure this out, because it's a lot, and he probably would have figured a lot of things out by himself anyway. But when your head's spinning because you suddenly have everything falling apart and you're overwhelmed, it takes you a little longer to figure it out. So I praise God for those that were with us and there for us yesterday. And I just want to challenge you to really think about that, because I believe that as this storm comes in and as it grows and intensifies, we need each other. We need to be there for each other. So that's my challenge today. Now, something you can do for me, hit that like button, leave a comment. If you haven't subscribed and you watch the videos, go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And, and share the videos with anybody you think it might help. And that helps me, because it helps promote my videos so that I can get the word out about Jesus, so I can share my testimony and share the things God's laying on my heart with as many people as I can possibly share with, well, for whatever days that the Lord has left for me. So, all right, I hear the guys coming in. It's going to get noisy in here fast, and it's time to feed the dogs and then to feed the men. So I got to get busy. I love you guys. I hope you just have an awesome day today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.